Yeah, looks good. So we have Kristel Gallagher, Kristen Flaming, and Lisa Dierker from Thiel College, Valdosta State University, and Wesleyan University. So take it away.
Hi, well, thank you guys. Welcome everyone. Thanks for joining me here today to share my passion, and I do say that with pun intended, and enthusiasm for the passion-driven statistics curriculum. I am beyond excited to be here today for what I consider to be a very short journey into the wonderful world of teaching introductory statistics with passion. Teaching passion-driven statistics, just as a little background, has really changed me as an educator, and without a doubt, I know has impacted many of my students in a positive way. So my goal here today is really just to give you a glimpse into what passion-driven statistics is all about. Many of you have probably never heard of it before, and I just want to give at the very beginning a note that I'm absolutely not going to be able to cover it all. There is so much I could talk about, but I hope to use this as like any teaching moment and to maybe inspire you to want to know more. And that's kind of where we'll end the talk here later today. So let me move this forward here. So as Kevin mentioned, I'm here presenting on behalf of two of my colleagues, Kristen Flaming down on the left here, who is actually today in our virtual audience, and we'll hear from her in a little bit, and Lisa Dierker on the right, who was not able to join. So Lisa is the PI on this 3-time NSF funded project I'm going to share with you today. And Kristen is actually our primary support person for the 70+ partners we have who've adopted some form of this program. So as Kevin mentioned, I'm Kristel Gallagher, and I've been teaching using this model since 2015 at a small liberal arts college in Pennsylvania, just north of Pittsburgh. But I'm actually originally from Cobourg, Ontario, which is right down the road from Peterborough. So I wanted to give a special shout out to all my Canadians, especially those of you from Trent. So I'm so excited to be at a Canadian themed conference. That's pretty great. So let's jump right in here then with a brief conceptual overview of passion-driven statistics before we move to the nuts and bolts of the actual curriculum, and that'll be next. So I thought it was important to start with a central feature of this curriculum, which, if you haven't guessed already, that is passion. I hope you will see today how important passion is to this curriculum. It's the passion of both the instructors, so us, and the students that really make passion-driven statistics successful. So in passion-driven statistics, we approach statistics in the service of our students' research and in the service of their passion. Maybe a little different than some other courses, we do not teach statistics as a standalone form of mathematical computation. And sometimes this is the case in introductory statistics courses outside of the psychology department, so those housed in math departments. Instead, we strive to serve students with the necessary skills of approaching a scientific problem from a statistical perspective. Our curriculum is actually modeled around this principle, that statistics is always in the service of your research, always. And our hook for students is that statistics can be used in the service of their passions. I also wanted to start with some context, which we've heard a lot about today already. So on the one hand, statistical analysis, we feel, is arguably the most outstanding point of intersection among very diverse disciplines. Yet developing these types of skills is often viewed as an obstacle, which we've heard a lot about, rather than an opportunity to pursue your own interests and your own passions and to answer questions that you feel passionately about. How many of our students, and again, it's a lot because we've heard about that today, dread statistics in whole or in part because of some sort of math anxiety, stats anxiety, maybe now I'm learning, or past negative experiences with math? So this is really why we created passion-driven statistics. Passion-driven statistics offers a welcoming and empowering space to support our introductory statistics students in conducting original research, asking original questions, and communicating methods and results using what we call, or what we all should call, the language of statistics. So some of the nitty-gritty details about the curriculum. Passion-driven statistics is a 3-time NSF-sponsored curriculum that specifically engages students in data-oriented projects. We're currently working with the 3rd and unfortunately the final grant from NSF. However, the goal of this final grant is to disseminate the curriculum to partner institutions across the country, and as you'll hear in a little bit, wider than across just the United States. So passion-driven statistics is an ongoing initiative for reframing introductory statistics experiences in order to tackle real-world questions across multiple disciplines, although today we're focused on psychology specifically. So from existing data, students pose questions of interest and then use statistical software to turn this raw data into useful information. So another feature of passion-driven statistics is that we use a flipped classroom approach. The course and the related experiences of the course are designed around student research projects of their own choosing, which I'll talk about here in a second. And so because of that, we offer individualized hands-on experience to answer their research questions in one of many statistical software packages. And finally, I think it's important to note that the course is built around 6 recommendations from the American Statistical Association. These are the guidelines for assessment and instruction in statistics education. I don't think I have time to go through those today, but this is an incredibly informative framework that I certainly encourage you to check out. All right, so not included in those guidelines I discussed that are wonderful is something like this. So this is what we tell our students from day one, and then what we actually do. So we tell our students, we are going to take you way outside of your comfort zone, and then we're gonna love you through the fallout. We're not gonna leave you hanging, but we're gonna engage with you when you need it and how you need it. I think some of us could identify with this. In our course, what we essentially try to do, and I think we're pretty successful at it, is take our students from something like this to this, and I'm not kidding, these are real life students in these pictures, these are our students, in about 15 short weeks, and if you're working on the COVID schedule right now, for us it's about 14 short weeks. So I want to point out that we let them fail in this course, but we don't let them be failures. And kind of along those same lines, I wanted to say that my statistics course has a very low DFW rate, which similar to what we heard last talk, except that calculation for me is a D grade, a fail, or withdrawal. And this is compared to traditional statistics courses. And this isn't because this is watered down or easy statistics. We might have heard that before when statistics is taught in a psychology department. But this isn't the case because we're not trying to get rid of those difficult parts of stats. We're simply trying to make those parts much more accessible and supportive to our students. And that is one of the main goals of passion-driven statistics. And passion-driven statistics, I have to say, is truly a magical experience. This is not just lip service, I absolutely promise you that. And honestly, who describes teaching statistics in that way? Although after hearing Andy's talk, I feel like there's maybe more than one person that might describe it that way. My students, in fact, really get into statistics as evidenced by our many semesters here that you can see of stats-themed class t-shirts. It's really a family that we become in our courses together. Okay, so I'm sure you're wondering, how do we do all of this? So I want to shift gears now into the more practical nuts and bolts of the actual passion-driven statistics curriculum. The basic approach is centered around the students. They set the topics by selecting questions they feel most passionately about, make decisions about how to answer those questions, and do the work to craft their research story. There's no sage on the stage in this course, as it is almost fully flipped, as I mentioned. We move the lecture clips, which are video lectures, outside of the classroom, and students watch them before coming to class to gain a conceptual understanding of what we're doing in class. These are short and high quality videos that I'll discuss in a little bit, but they're also available for your use. Class time then is spent working on lab assignments that directly relate to the video lecture. And because of this, there's an expectation that one-on-one support will be needed. And I promise my students, and I follow through on this promise, that lots of support is provided. I'm able to do this because I'm not lecturing in class. Our class time is very active and very engaging with us working together on their research projects. So here's a bird's eye view of the typical 15-week semester, typical 15-week semester using the passion-driven statistics curriculum. So weeks 1 through 3, I call, what do you care about? Let's study it. So students review codebooks for available data. They select 2 to 3 research questions and generate a couple testable hypotheses from those. And they go to the literature to learn what has been done with their topics, and sometimes they write a research plan. Weeks 4 through 5 is called It's All About That SAS Programming. And this is for me because I use SAS in my course. And here students get a deep introduction to the statistical software basics being used for the course. We also spend a lot of time here formatting and managing data in the service of a research question. For example, we do things like coding for missing data, collapsing variables, aggregating variables, etc. So moving on, weeks 6 through 8, I call reading the story of our data. And this is really the first week that my course starts to look more like a statistics course than a research course. Students learn about their individual variables through conducting a variety of univariate analyses here. They also take the first step toward bivariate and multivariate analyses by graphing their predicted relationships among their variables and learning to interpret those graphs. We then move to week 9 through 12, where I call this how do we find the answers. So this is an exciting week for us because students finally get to answer the research questions through inferential statistics. They do both bivariate analyses, so analyses like ANOVA, chi-square, correlation, and multivariate analyses, so moderation, identifying confounding variables, and multiple logistic regression. Finally, move on to the last weeks of class, generally weeks 13 through 15, and this is the big show and tell. We are able to help students at this point fully answer their research question. And we do save a fair amount of time here for completing the research project. I have an example of this in a second. This is usually in the form of a research poster and most often a campus presentation of those research posters. And this is by far my absolute favorite part of the course. Now, before I move forward, I just want to say that what I described here is the basic overview of what this course can look like. But this absolutely should vary. I should point out that the instructors we have that use passion-driven statistics cover topics that make sense for them, their students, their course, many times their department. And so this can vary depending on your needs. One thing that most all instructors agree upon, though, is that the poster presentations at the end of the semester are one of the most important moments of the semester. It's at this point that many students have their, I would say, aha moments. Things really start to come together for them at this point. And as they present their posters, you see them come to life in a way that both surprises and oftentimes just makes me so excited and proud for them. So these are some examples of a couple of students and their final projects. So topics here you can see include religion and gun control and sexual assault and drug use. I wanted to provide you with a few other examples. So topics here include self-esteem and drug use and childhood abuse, suicide, and personality. And importantly, all of these topics are chosen as the interests and passions of our students. So jumping back to the curriculum, two central features of this course are that we provide students with rich and real data, and these are data sets that stimulate their curiosity, and then from this, students develop their own research questions. The content of the course then is delivered and presented completely in the service of those research questions. So this data, this rich and real data I'm talking about, generally comes from three main sources. So we have public access sources, so these are major data archives, community engagement, so for example, a partnership with a local school district or a private social service agency, or oftentimes faculty data sets that are related to faculty research get used. All of my students use the public access data from AdHealth, and many of our psychology partners in particular use AdHealth as well. AdHealth stands for the National Longitudinal Study of Adolescent to Adult Health. There are actually 5 waves of this. 4 are publicly available, and in my courses, I have used both wave 1 and wave 4 with a lot of success. My students love these data sets. Not surprisingly, and what I have for you to see here is that the forbidden, I call them table topics, things you shouldn't discuss with your relatives, are the most popular topics my students choose from AdHealth. So things like sex, drugs, politics, and religion. We're also inclusive with our technology, so you have the flexibility to use whatever statistical software program you would like with passion-driven statistics. I use SAS, and I would definitely recommend it, though many of our Psych partners use SPSS for this program. We do support almost all statistical software programs. We have a translation syntax package and student-focused lecture videos for SPSS, Stata, SAS, R, and Python. So I think we've covered most things there. And finally, our ebook, which is now in its 2nd edition, is free for download and free for students. It provides a basic introduction to the concepts covered in the chapter, then it links out to the video lecture to fully explain them. There is generic code for students to work from, as well as an example lab for every chapter. Very cool, we can provide this in an editable download format, so it's actually fully customizable for you. Okay, so I know this might seem like a daunting undertaking at first, but I wanted to spend our last few minutes here talking about the resources that we have for you and your students with passion-driven statistics. So first, I wanted to show you how much support you have from colleagues at partner institutions across the United States and beyond. Notice that Canada is not on this map, but Ghana, West Africa is. So I think it would be really neat to include Canada here. Okay, so our Passion-Driven Statistics website is a really great place to start if you just want to check out the program. So passiondrivenstatistics.com. But if you decide you want to take it a step further, you'll definitely want to join us in Schoology. So we have a ton of instructor resources in Schoology to help you implement passion-driven statistics. And so you can see on the right side there a list of the different resources in folders that we have available. So we do restrict, obviously, access to the site to keep tests in such a way from students, but all you need to do is make a free account in Schoology and request the course access code from Lisa or Kristen. And we're going to hear from Kristen here in a second, and I'll have our contact information at the end. We also have a fairly lively and active Slack channel for both students and instructors separately to communicate about the course. So even with all of that, I know some of you are probably thinking this is great, but it sounds very overwhelming, and I'm not sure I could do this without some help. And I know that I definitely felt this way when I first started teaching with passion-driven statistics, and I will assure you that I did not do it on my own. I really got started with the videos and the ebook and the lab assignments, but what really helped me move forward in the course was the one-on-one support I had. And in particular, I had support from Kristen as I both prepared to teach this course and I was teaching it as I was teaching it for the first time. So Kristen really had my back on every question or concern that I had, and she's now our primary support person for this program. And this sort of support was not unique or special to me. This is support that is readily available for anyone who wants to give passion-driven statistics a try. So at this point, I wanted to see if Kristen wanted to chime in on talking about any of this support or give some information here. Kristen, are you here?
I am.
Oh, sorry. I was just wondering, maybe do we have time for a question or two?